I want to show you vWire's configuration analysis capability, which builds on vWire's search capability. Hopefully, you've already watched the searching video because this one is like a sequel to it. If you haven't watched it, that's okay. You can watch it after this one. Searches let me ask questions about my virtual infrastructure. Let's look at some of the saved searches that let me ask questions like, does my virtual infrastructure have any X, Y, and Z? I can fill in X, Y, and Z with essentially anything. The first thing I do is select the entity I want to search for. Let's start looking at saved searches that apply to clusters. Here we see searches that answer questions about clusters that have DRS and HA disabled or enabled. I'm going to show you a quick flyby of some of the saved searches. To save time, I won't run them. Here we see searches for hosts and can answer questions about hosts with internal-only vSwitches and inaccessible networks. Data store searches identifies inaccessible data stores and those with low free space. There are other entity types that we could look at, such as virtual switches, physical NICs, folders, and data centers. But let's skip them and look at virtual machines. I won't read these to you, but you can see that saved searches answer many of the common questions about VMs. I want to show you some of the power of vWire searching with an example. I start by selecting clusters. Next, I open up the With Related Objects search panel and select hosts. Now I need to specify that I only care about hosts with certain processor configuration. I select Has A and then click on Eclipse to open up the host search panel. Within that, I open up the hardware summary property set and set the CPU cores to less than 4 and the CPU packages to less than 2. I apply those criteria and then search. We can see that I do have a cluster with CPU configuration that doesn't meet the requirements I would like our clustered host to have. Let's look at the related host objects so we can see which hosts in the cluster do not have the specified CPU resources. Let's save this search so I can use it later if I want to. Just for fun, let's name this search Clusters with Wimpy Hosts. This is the search we just saved. Let's click on the Customize tab. The typical user doesn't need to know anything about this, but vWire searching uses a query language that can analyze virtually anything in the VMware data model. The reason this is valuable is that power users and vWire developers can use the query language to specify complex queries to correlate configuration information and define conditions in your virtual infrastructure that shouldn't exist. When vWire finds these conditions, it can alert you. For example, vWire analyzes many different configurations properties to assess whether or not vMotion will work, and it will alert you if the configuration won't support vMotion. Let's review what I've showed you. Most of the time when I need to search, I just type a value into the basic search field or I use a saved search. However, occasionally I will create a more powerful search. I can then save my searches if I think I want to use them again in the future. vWire's database contains a complete representation of the VMware data model, and vWire's searching can find just about anything in that data model. One last thing. Although most users won't interact with the query language, many users will create their own searches as well as alerts and action, and will hopefully share these in the vWire community so others can use them also. Community content significantly enhances the value users derive from vWire.